Hello and welcome to Chengi's World. Ladies, I hope you are well. My name is Chengi and you, my precious one, are my world. If you're new to my channel, that's what's going down up in here. And for those of you who are coming back, you know I love you. You know how we do. You know you're the apple of my eye. What can I say? You're my angels, right? So welcome back to my channel. So today's video is why you keep attracting the men who reject you. Okay, I really wanted to call it you attract what you are. So before I go any further, if you like this video, make sure you like it, make sure you subscribe, like, comment, and hit the notification bell so that I know what time it is and I know that you are for real. Okay, so this is probably going to be the 100th time for those of you who keep coming back to my channel. Yes, I am in my car for most of the time, and the reason for it is that I'm actually moving from county to a different from this county I'm in to another county, and I'm going to tell you all about it when I finally make the move, and we'll talk about it on Storytime Saturday, and I'll tell you all the ins and outs and the bits and pieces that sort of have initiated the move for me. So I'm going to be in my car because my house is full of boxes. It's full of boxes, full of stuff that I need to go throw away. And whilst I kept my little recording space nice and neat, I'm one of those people who can't function around mess. So forgive me. For those of you who are like, girl with it, girl. Sorry, it's just fast forwards. Why do you attract the men that reject you? You know, I think the only way that I can explain it is to probably get into to tell you about myself. And a lot of what I'm going to share is not about open disclosure so much as it's about really helping somebody. And because I can't use anybody else's story. This is common for all of my clients, all the people I work with. And every story that I hear is always rooted in this. So let's break it down for you. You meet great guys. So we have different types of issues in the dating world. We've got people that don't meet people at all, who can't seem to attract high value men. And then there's a different breed. There's a different category of woman who has no issues attracting high value men, who has no issues attracting male attention. Like, ain't nothing but chicken wing, right? She has like a truckload of offers from high value men that other women would die to have access to. But her problem is sort of unique because, and even if it's not high value, maybe you just don't have issues attracting men. Maybe just the idea of attracting men is not a big deal. And so going back to myself, when I was growing up, men and attracting men is not a thing. Like, it's not, for me to not attract men, I literally have to lock myself in my house. Like, I have to not leave my house. And I think I shared on Storytime Saturday how even as a little girl, I always attracted a lot of male attention. I grew up and obviously I could always attract men everywhere I went. They were there to be had. And I was very fortunate because my energy and my output attracts very high value, very successful, very wealthy men who are really great at what they do. They're like powerful men, rich men. I've always attracted that sort of leader type. And even when I walk into a room, even if I'm not looking for it, it's always going to be that alpha or sigma male who's just going to gravitate towards me. So of course, every girl gets the triers, is what I call them, you know, guys that you think, you're going to get them. You're always going to get those guys who are used to rejection, who actually just like the game, who will try you. But the majority of my life, I've always been able to attract men of power, of influence, leaders. But there was something that was off because whilst I could attract them and they would chase me, hunt me down, they would be like what, like men of that caliber and of that stature tend to know how to pursue a goal and to get it. Like, they're relentless. So they would hunt me down like nothing in the world exists except me. And then when I would date them, or the minute I would start thinking, yeah, I think I like him, because most times it would be like, because you get past, when you've been attracting wealthy men and powerful men for a long time throughout your life, you kind of get past it, you get over it. You're not sort of impressed, so you're sort of looking for more, and sometimes there just isn't more. And so I would be kind of a bit, okay, maybe not. So what I would find is the moment I would realize that I'm attracting these guys, that I actually like them, maybe we've been dating for a long time, and now I've got this this rapport with them, I would find a very interesting thing would be that they would start to pull away. They would start to pull away, disappear, and reject me. Never in a kind of, I've dumped you. I don't think a man has ever verbally dumped me. But if you've watched my video, the 5 cowardly ways that men dump women, that's kind of how they used to go about it. They would just stop calling, stop pulling away. And I just didn't get it. I literally did not get it. I was like, sure, this is like a spiritual something. Definitely a spiritual marriage. Definitely something demonic. I would go into fasting and pray, and like, how is it possible that every guy that chases me and hunts me down, the moment I say, look, okay, cool, they reject me? So the Lord began to speak to me about it when I took a dating sabbatical. And and I started to ask the Lord, and for a long time I thought it was something spiritual. But I'm also a very smart, wise person, in that I realized that there are patterns, there are things that we do, that we're doing subconsciously, that literally create the results that we're getting. Even if it's spiritual, even if it's a demonic or spiritual curse or has spiritual implications, that spiritual implication works its way through influencing our minds and our beliefs. And so those evil spirits, or those evil spirits, require us to almost embrace their doctrines, and they feed into somewhere that's broken on the inside of us, and then we behave a certain kind of way. So the Lord began to speak to me about I think I've done a video here on Storytime Saturday. So if you want to know a little bit more about where I'm coming from, some of my videos, I don't want to have to repeat myself, just go watch my Storytime Saturday. It's in a playlist on this channel, so you can watch all of them. But the Lord began to reveal to me my relationship with my father. He started to say, look, go back into your childhood. Because one of the things that I learned many years ago was that we are all in grown bodies, but we are all stuck at a certain age in certain areas of our lives. Something about how we see money, relationships, sex, everything about how we relate to the world was put on the inside of us before we became grown. So what happened is bigger bodies. Let's think about our beliefs and our thought processes as a little kind of ball of light or darkness. Let's call it a ball. And that is crafted and it's built up as a child by the experiences you experience. And as a child, you cannot break down or understand the whys and the wherefores of why things are happening. So as a child, things are just happening to you. So you are just like, okay, things are happening, but I don't understand. So you as a child interpret that in that childish space, and it cross a belief. Because you get older, you get over it, your body gets bigger, life experiences change, you're now going from different challenge to different challenge. You don't realize that you're still fighting, that inner child, that inner belief system has not been checked. So when I started to look at my relationship with my dad, I realized that the reason I attract, now most people would say, oh, Chengi, it's how you look, but it really has nothing to do with that. I have seen women like me who are all different shapes, sizes, or whatever, who just attract successful, powerful men. They're not they're not magazine models. It comes in different shapes and sizes, because what you have to understand is that I would say 10% of attraction, that's just me, I haven't sort of read it somewhere or whatever, but I would probably say 10% of attraction and maintaining attraction is appearance, is the way you look and the way you groom. It's a big part for men. That 10% is quite a big deal, but ultimately energy is 90% of it. It's what you're putting out there. There are a lot of beautiful, attractive Barbie like women that just don't attract men of power because their energy is low energy, right? They carry a lot of insecurity, they carry a lot of whatever. So it's an energy thing. So I was thinking to myself, so going back to my father was a big executive. He was the executive director of the Ministry of Mines. He had a huge job that was in the private sector, and also sort of crossing over to the government sector. So my dad was like a proper boss. I would go and see him, and he was big stuff. The kind of big stuff that you go and they don't do any work. Like my dad was always lounging, having lunch or whatever, but his job was to ultimately sign off things. So all I would see is people coming in and saying, "Could you sign this off, please, Mr. Kahari? Could you sign this off, please?" He was very intelligent, and he was a trained corporate lawyer. So he really was just the guy that ran the shots. So of course, my understanding of what a man ought to be was a high-powered, successful man. Like, I was raised by one. That's what I saw. That was what was displayed. That's what I was experiencing all the time. So my energy, therefore, will attract my dad. Our energy will attract our dads. You see these women that are so amazing, so powerful, so great, and they're always with these kind of whatless kind of men. Look at their daddies, right? So I had to look at my dad and say, okay, that makes sense. That's why when I walk into a room, I have that energy that attracts these sort of men. But then I had to look again and say, but why do they reject me? And I realized that I was as much my father as I was my mother. My father was a high-powered man who rejected my mother. So for me, I built an image as a child that successful men who have power, who have whatever, reject women when they get to a certain stage. Like they leave. So how I began to understand love was that love comes, and because I saw how my mom behaved around my dad and some of his misbehaviors and misendeavors, again, go and watch Storytime Saturday, she would lose the plot, she would throw in the towel, she would do all kind of crazy. And so I grew up believing that if you want to keep a man, you've got to be docile, you've got to be a flower, you've got to just take whatever. Because I saw my mom speak up for herself, I saw her fight for herself, I saw her put her foot down on some of my dad's behavior, and I saw him walk away. So these were all feeding that bowl. They were all information that was going into that bowl, that vault, that secret place that we're not aware of. So what would happen with me is when I would meet these guys, these great guys who are on top of their game or whatever, they would see this on the outside. They would feel the energy of a leader, of a Sigma female, of an alpha female. I'm not really an alpha so much as I'm a Sigma. There's a difference, and yeah, we can talk about that on another video. But I was like this go-getter girl. On the outside, my energy, when you see me walking, anybody who sees me walking or working on a project, I'm very focused, I'm very go. And that energy was like, yeah, I need that woman in my life. She's going to give me a run for my money. She's going to make me work to keep her and to have her. And to, they loved the idea of me being a challenge. But what would happen is, the moment I decided that I liked them, then I would change. I would become docile. I would become compliant. I would change my nature. I would change the very thing that they were attracted to. And so, out of pure disappointment, she didn't make me work. She didn't make what I was hoping to go find and what I found were two very different things. And so they would lose attraction for me. Another thing that I realized is, did I really like these men? Because when I look back, I thought every time I would meet them, my spirit would be like, not really. And then I would talk myself into liking them because, you know, they've given a good show, they've tried, they've demonstrated, I've got no one really, and that kind of, you know, they would warm me up. But my initial would be like, I don't know. Which led me to realize that reason why they were rejecting me is I was rejecting them. I didn't want them. So that was also working. So on one hand, I've got that daddy issue. But on the other hand, I'm reflecting where I'm at. I don't want you. So I almost sabotaged that relationship. Like, your subconscious mind is more powerful than your conscious mind. You got to understand that what is going on in the unseen, unfiltered realm of your thought, all the experiences we're taking in have to be stored somewhere in our experience. And so I realized that in my subconscious mind, I didn't like you. So at some point, I'm going to do something, trigger something in you as a man, and I'm going to pull on that daddy issue to make you reject me. But because I wasn't aware that I was doing it, these are not men that my heart desired. These are not men that my heart loved. I was going after them, or I was responding to them because they were powerful men and they were the ones coming after me. But in fact, I quite liked that beta male. I quite liked that laid back, sweet soul, no competitive energy guy who just likes it. I was actually drawn to that guy, but that guy was not being attracted to me. I was being attracted to the top man, the big boss, and whilst perhaps that beta male, or that, other kind of maybe Sigma, because I'm a Sigma, maybe another Sigma male who and Sigma is kind of, the only way I can simplify it in this video is, an alpha kind of is a go-getter, like looks for that attention, needs to be on top of their game. And Sigma, not so much. We're almost like, we're quite happy to be betas, but because of who we are, we always find ourselves leading. We always find ourselves in a powerful position. We always find ourselves, with a spotlight on us. It's not what we're searching for. It's not what we want. It just finds us, if that makes sense. So you become a kind of leader by default. So that was, and therefore we're quite calm, easygoing people. We're not really, but we just find ourselves in that position. So I realized that, yeah, you're successful. You're what I should want. You're what I should desire. You have what I should desire, but I don't want you. And that was all after I went on my sabbatical. And then the other thing that I realized is I was still hurting from my divorce. I was still hurting from all of what that meant, the failure of my marriage. I was still dealing with all the repercussions and all the wounds that I had accumulated in 13 years of marriage was still there. And subconsciously, I really didn't want to get married again. I never said that to myself because it was just too pathetic to come out of my mouth. But in essence, the real heart's desire is I never wanted to get married again. So again, whenever I attracted that guy who really fell for me, like genuinely was there, wanted to stay, wanted to be that guy for me, wanted to be my everything, I would sabotage. I would feel myself feeling very anxious, feel myself feeling very unsure. All of a sudden, his love would stifle me. His desire for me would choke me. He's not going anywhere. It's almost like I had a time release that after a certain amount of time, you've got to go. And if you reject me, it's so much more easier. So I'll just click that button. But if I have to reject you, then that's hard. So I would feel myself feeling panicky. So those were the three things that were working on the inside of me. None of those things were evident to me. None of those things were apparent to me. None of those things were right there in my face. I say to you right now as though it was like in my face. I knew what I was doing. I did not know any of this was happening. What I saw was rejection. What I saw was constant rejection. The faces changed, the places changed, but the result was always the same. And I didn't understand. I just didn't get it. I prayed and I prayed and I prayed. And sometimes when we're praying and praying for something and praying and praying for something and we're fasting and praying for something and we're not getting a result, it's not that we're not getting a result. It's because God wants you to work on you. He wants you to stop and look at the things that are doing you in. And something that Cindy Trim said in her book is the external strongholds that we can fight and the internal strongholds, and these are more dangerous. The thing that is eating you, okay, is worse than the thing you're eating, right? The thing that is on the inside of you, gnawing away at you, is a worse enemy than that which you can perceive. And so I do this video and I share the story with you because it's true and typical of all of my clients. And this is what I do with my clients is I map, I list, I ask the right questions, I ask for certain details, and I find that there is a pattern. It's very hard to find that pattern for yourself. You can if you ask the Holy Spirit. He can minister to you and he can teach you, but it's very hard for you to see it in its clearest form by yourself. So I was blessed to be able to do that because of my ability to hear God and my ability to hear, what God was saying to me and being able to work on myself. But for many of my clients, they can't see that. So it was a chance for me to look at what was going on and really advise my clients and say, okay, this is where it all went pear-shaped. This is why you're creating this scenario. And some of my clients come with the weirdest scenarios, like, really? And then when you look at certain patterns in their lives, you begin to realize that is where the stronghold lies. And this is what you now have to be very careful for. A lot of you are being rejected man by man by man by man. And you are listening to videos and videos and videos, 5 ways to keep his attraction, blah, blah, blah. But whatever you do externally will never have the same power as when it comes from within. Why you do something, the place from which you do something, is more powerful than the thing you do itself. So if you are whole and healed from the inside, then what you will find is whether you do the wrong thing or the right thing, you can't chase that love away because you are whole on the inside. So I had to begin to learn to love a man. I had to begin to be me, to not apologize, to love the way I love, to be my I don't like that self. I had to be the one saying, no, I'm not keen on that. No, I'm not going to do that. I needed to own the things I wanted, the things I realized that actually my truest, most authentic self, when I wasn't being docile, trying to not get a man to lose me, when I wasn't trying to keep daddy home, when I wasn't, and I had to deal with the issues. Do you really want marriage? Do you really want stability? Do you really want to restore your life? Ask yourself that question. And when I started to decide to see and make those decisions, choose a man you want, Chengi. He doesn't have to be rich. He doesn't have to be influential. He doesn't have to be all the things that people say a girl like you can have. Oh, a girl like you can be with a rich guy. Oh, a girl like you. He doesn't have to be any of those things. He just has to be what you want. He could be like a carpenter, fisherman. He could be, I don't know, whatever. He's got to be what you want. So, for me, those are my 3 strongholds. Yours might be different. But it's if you're finding yourself in a cycle of constantly being rejected by the men that you want, it's time to look at your past, look at your inner child, look at those beliefs that you took on, the world that you grew up in. What was your mother like? What was your father like? And do the work. And if you find it hard to do it by yourself, that's what I'm here to do. Make sure you call me. I laugh sometimes because I know we can sit there and say, look, I can't afford that. That's so expensive. I can't afford it. But many of us can't afford not to. We are spending tens and tens of thousands loans on degrees and stuff that is never going to give us that joy, on bags, on shoes, on blah. But we're not investing in the help that we truly need to move our life forward in the area that we desire movement. When you need movement career-wise, you go and invest the money in the courses that you need to invest in to move your career forward. But for some reason, when it comes to love, we're not prepared to invest in ourselves in that way. And don't get me wrong, I had to invest. I had to put some money down to know what I know. I had to spend a lot of money to grow, to learn, in courses and in time. You're never, everything that God gives you is free, but it's not cheap. There's going to be a price. So, you know, even if it's not me you come to, go find somebody who can help you. Go to a therapist, go to a coach, any other coach, maybe, you know, whatever. But if you do want to work with me, it'll be such a pleasure and such a joy. So you know what to do. I'll leave the description, the thingy on the link in the description box, so you can contact me and let me know if you would like to work with me one-on-one. Thank you so much for watching. Take care of you. Love you lots. Bye-bye.